What is up, you guys? Hope you're having an awesome day. I'm your host Eamon Hassan and welcome back to another video. Now, I don't even remember the last time I even went into a basement legitimately, and you know why? Because I have at least one brain cell and I'm not a character in a scary movie with zero common sense. With that being said, Jared and I hit you with part 1. He was kicked out for the sequel, so it's just me this time. Hehehe. Either way, these are the top 10 scary basements that actually exist, part 2. Starting us off with number 10 is the abandoned house. Now, this one was shared by Maya, who said there was an abandoned house near where she lived, and it was a bit sus because the owner had died. Either way, her and her friends would go there to drink and get high, but they knew for a fact there was some kind of devil worshipping cult operating in the house. There'd always be candles everywhere, and even if they cleaned them up, they would be there the next time they went without fail. There'd also be dead cats scattered around the house, and one time they found a bloody wedding dress in the basement surrounded by candles and pentagrams drawn on the walls. Excuse me? Does anyone want to explain? Who did they kill that was about to get married? Bloody wedding dress? Guess we'll just sweep it under the rug. Coming in at number 9 is What Was Left Behind. This one was shared by Reddit user Doris Crockford, who said she moved into a house that used to be a children's orphanage prior to the war. Her basement also had a crawl space, and whilst exploring it, she found children's clothes covered in blood. If that wasn't eerie enough, under the basement's floorboards she found little letters and notes with things like "He did it again last night" written on them. Digging further into the story behind the house, she found out that a reverend used to own the orphanage and he mercilessly abuse the children. This one honestly just makes me sick. Like I hate children getting abused. I don't like that. Doesn't sit well with me. At number 8 we have The Spirit in the Basement Part 1. I actually love this story, it's kinda heartwarming to me. This one was shared by Reddit user Built by Balma Roll Tide, who shared that her and her husband live in old military housing on a US Army post in Alaska. Despite their basement being creepy in general, every time they put their feet on the third last step, you can see a soldier in Vietnam era clothing hanging from the basement rafters, like his body just hanging. The user insists that he's a nice spirit, however, since he always watched over her son, who nearly died when he was 11 months old. That night the spirit woke her up to check on the baby, but she thought it was a dream and fell back asleep. Then her dog started biting her wrist, trying to get her to wake up. He eventually succeeded and dragged her to her son's room, and they got him to the hospital just in time. He is now 12 years old, still alive, all is well. Filling at number 7 slot is The Spirit in the Basement Part 2. You know I love my series stories within a story. Love my part 1s and part 2s. Either way, she went on to say the spirit living in the basement didn't just protect her child but her as well. The user's ex-husband was extremely abusive, but when they moved into that house, he never laid a hand on her. She claimed that every time he would raise his voice at her, he told her he felt this very heavy and angry presence around him. The only time he actually raised his hand and was about to hit her, a picture frame came flying off the wall and hit him in the head, giving him a scar that needed stitches. So honestly, as creepy as this basement sounds with a hanging soldier inside, I would feel low-key protected and calm down there, and I don't even think I've ever admitted that about a ghost, so that is saying something. You go, ghosty, we stan. Now at number 6 is the Gator. What even is this story, honestly? Back at the start of 2016, a repairman in Chicago was called to a house in the suburbs to do some repairs. He usually used to set up in the basement, so he did just that, and since the owners weren't in the house, they couldn't really stop him. When he ventured down there, however, he found a massive alligator, and it's not like it just randomly was there, it was their freaking pet. It would even go on walks in their backyard, which is actually kinda cute, I'm not gonna lie. Either way, the man reported it to the authorities ASAP, and the gator was taken away from the man, which is actually quite sad. What if that man like raised it and was emotionally attached? That's sad. But so is the ownership of exotic animals, so just saying. Coming in at number 5 is the crawl space. This one's from Redditor Powie Dahosi, who shared that growing up there was this unexplored crawl space on the other side of one of their bedroom walls. Their room also happened to be in the basement, just for some context before you're like, her bedroom? Since when? Either way, as a kid, the user used to hear the sounds of a baby crying during the night and other vague sounds, and since their house was in the woods, this was enough to really freak the user out. They used to constantly wake up their parents screaming and crying out of fear, and eventually they broke and opened up the door leading to the crawl space, and inside they found a dingy white Victorian era looking baby bassinet. Like, what the hell? Who puts their baby in a freaking crawl space? Like, our people are insane. The user then got their mum to seal up the door ASAP, and Thank God. At number 4 is Reddy. Now this one honestly really made me laugh. So this eccentric ass man lived in the German suburb of Kiel, and in his basement he stored shit that is straight up illegal. As a huge World War II fanatic, he was a collector of memorabilia and propaganda. And I'm not talking posters and badges and pins, no, this man had a full-on decommissioned World War II 1943 Panzer tank. How big must your basement be that it can fit a full-ass tank inside of it? Tanks are huge. And if that wasn't bad enough, he didn't just have a tank, he also had a German torpedo and cannon. Where do you even find and buy these things? He also had a bunch of other arms, and the guy wasn't even quiet about it. Everyone in Kiel knew he had this stuff, and although he wasn't selling it, it's still illegal as to own things like a tank, and eventually the police came and raided his villa. Filling at number 3 slot is the Mannequin. This one's from Reddit user Chonk Bonko, who said he moved to Illinois from New Jersey with his family back in 2005. The basement wasn't super creepy or anything, but it did have a mannequin in one of its closets, which he found odd. The family ended up using it as a punching bag and decided to keep it. And other than that, the basement had the user's PC in there for him to game in peace. But he admitted every time he went in there, he heard whispering coming from behind him from the direction of that closet. But anytime he'd turn around, it would be nothing but the mannequin. In one instant, he opened the door to the basement and saw the mannequin had moved to the bottom of the stairs, and the only person who could have moved it was his sister, but she was fast asleep. Now at number 2 is the Target. This was from Reddit user Fat Old Son, who said while working at a house in Citrus Heights, Sacramento, he found something absolutely awful. He had to go into the basement's crawl space to get a main valve and retrieve a box that was in there way at the back. When he went in there though, he found a black ski mask, some white shoelaces and a rope, and some family pictures with the same person circled and crossed out in each and every one of them. And I don't want to talk shit, but I'm pretty sure someone was out to kill that crossed out person, and based on movies, I'm not wrong. Is this person still alive? Gotta find out. And finally, at number 1 is Jim. Now this one chilled me to my very core, and I know it's gonna chill you guys as well. Shared by Redditor Scar Kruger, when he was about 5 years old, he lived in this old house with his parents. He doesn't remember any of this, but his mum told him he used to have this imaginary friend called Jim that he would talk to, saying things like, "Jim, god damn it." The user would also say that anything creepy that happened around the house, may it be lights turning on and off, doors opening and closing, were all because of Jim. Now 3 months of this went by, and his mum has had enough of all this Jim talk and is hysterically telling the dad how she believes the house is haunted by this Jim person. After doing a bunch of research, it turns out a child murderer used to live in the house at one point, and so to put everyone at ease, the dad went into the basement's crawl space, just to prove there was nothing in there. He came back out white as a ghost because all he found was a pair of children's underwear. And you can bet your ass either the kid that was murdered was called Jim or the serial killer was called Jim. You know how this goes, you guys. And that is it for today's video, guys. I still don't like basements, I never have, and this series just makes me hate them even more. Either way, let me know what you thought in the comments below. As always, I'm your host, Eamon Hassan, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye. They knew for a fact there was some kind of devil they knew that there was, who said she moved into a house that used to be a children. Really, Doris? And this one was shared by Reddit user built by Barma Roll. Can't see it anymore. Then her dog started biting. How big must your basement be that it can fit a full-ass tank? Hate my life. Full-ass tank. This one's from Reddit user Fat Old Son, who said while working at a house in Citrus Heights,